Hello, strategy gamers, and welcome back to the Strategy Game Butt Kicker channel. I am, of course, your host, Strategy Game Butt Kicker, and we are looking here at the game I have been playing the most recently, which is Conflict of Nations. It's a fun game. I enjoy it. I definitely recommend it. But for this particular video, in which I'm going to be talking about the use of nuclear weapons generally, and in fact, even more general than that, the use of weapons of mass destruction. I wanted to use this game, this particular campaign, as an example. This is not the one we have been following most recently. It's a slightly older campaign. It is now day 59 in this campaign. Some things have been happening. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about this because it's a good example. It's a good illustration of why, even though I do use weapons of mass destruction in like every game, I use chemical and nuclear weapons, why I'm actually very careful about how I do that. This is a good example of why I'm very careful, because I wasn't as careful in this game. Now, as you can see right now, I have 711 points. That is about 1,000 points less than I at one point had. Right now, the leader in the game is the rogue state. That is the top player in the game, is the rogue state. That is largely because of me. After that is Iran. After that is South Africa. And then me. I'm number 4. The top is Rogue State. And that used to be me there. And most of a whole bunch of the cities that the Rogue State now has are because of me. Now what happened, I was close to winning. And this was a few weeks back. And I hadn't been spending as much time in this game as I did in the one we've been following. I've been giving most of my attention to that one because I was making videos about it and using it kind of as a tutorial and, you know, kind of a point of interest for anybody who is interested in strategy games. So I had been playing this one, but I hadn't been spending as much time on this one as that one. But I was still well ahead of all my competition and I was about to win. Well, I knew that my in-laws were coming into town. And then I had some work to do, aside from in-laws. I just had work to do, and I had my in-laws coming in, so I wasn't going to be spending much time with games at all. And I just wanted to basically be able to give enough time to games to keep that other game, the one that we've been following, to keep that going. So I just wanted to end this one out. So I decided to finish off my points. I had like, 300 points or something like that to make, by taking over Iran, which was also one of the largest players in the game. And I hit them really hard to knock out their troops, to be able to just, like, in a day or two, it was actually in a day. In a day, I was trying to just take up all their cities in one day. And I hit them really hard, including with some nuclear and chemical weapons. Now, again, in pretty much every game, I use chemical and nuclear weapons. But I hit them a little bit harder than I normally do. I hit all of their homeland cities and some of their other cities with nuclear weapons and chemical weapons. I was using it against basically any troops I found, because I was trying to just knock them out all in one day so that I could take over all in one day and finish it out all in one day. And I largely did take over. I was just a few points short. I didn't make it all the way to 1850 points. But what I did do, because every time you use weapons of mass destruction especially, but anytime you attack a city with planes, with artillery, with tanks, with nuclear, chemical weapons, whatever, every time you attack a city, you cause civilian casualties, and that makes your population unhappy. Now, in most cases, like if you're using tanks or whatever, in most cases, you're not going to cause enough civilian casualties that you're going to cause your cities to revolt against you. It will slow down the process of calming down cities and bringing up their, what's it called? Stability, happiness. Let's see, what's this? Their morale. So you need to bring up population morale in cities you take over. You want to keep the morale in your cities high. And the more civilian casualties you cause, the lower morale goes. So, I caused the morale to dip pretty low. And cities that had been nice and calm started smoking and going rogue state. Now, this started happening as my in-laws were arriving and I had other things to do, and I just was not able to come back and really calm down all the cities. And I was also just kind of frustrated because I wanted to be done with this particular campaign, and it didn't happen, even though, yes, I did take over the majority of Iran. They did have enough troops that they've been able to retake almost all of their territory now, almost all of what they lost. But yeah, so I tried to knock out all of Iran and take all their cities, and I mostly accomplished it, but I did not get quite enough points. So cities started going rogue state. Now, all of this at one time was green. And the reason it's not green now, for the most part, is because the rogue state took over. And I was not devoting enough time to stop that. Now, I also, because I had clicked to end the game, there were only a few players, Iran clicked to end the game when I started taking them out, I decided just to start nuking the heck out of South Africa and see if I could get South Africa to give up. As you can see, I've kind of, I mean, their capital is now rogue state. I've taken their populations down. I've knocked out their cities. I've killed their troops. They have not yet given up, and they're probably, Iran and South Africa are probably going to take out my country because I'm probably not going to come back and devote enough time to defend it. They did try to attack me yesterday, and they lost, and I'm taking back that territory right now. And here's Iran. Iran is about to lose too. But yeah, so I had almost won in this game, but then I overused nuclear weapons and I made all of my cities very unhappy with me, and they started revolting and going to rogue state. One of the reasons I'm getting into this, I'd been thinking about making this video for a while anyway, but on one of my other videos, the one where I was in the game that we've been following on this channel, where I was talking about just kind of harassing my enemies to keep them from being able to fully rebuild and possibly discouraging them to the point that they would quit so that I could have time to rebuild and take over their cities. User 54,000 Biker left a comment saying that I should build ICBMs, and that would allow me to take out their cities and they would have to rebuild. Which I am not against the use of weapons of mass destruction in the game. They can be very useful. And I'm not even against the use of ICBMs. I have an ICBM right here in this one. Or of ballistic missiles. But if you're going to use ballistic missiles, or especially ICBMs, ballistic missiles with weapons of mass destruction, chemical or nuclear warheads. If you're going to do that, you should probably be in a war you're going to lose otherwise. Like, I would not use chemical or nuclear weapons when I'm going to win the war otherwise, because then this happens. Now, the reason I did it this time, as I said, was because I wanted to be done with this game. I wanted to win it, but I wanted to be done with it all in one day because I just had other stuff happening. It backfired. So the game that I have been following for this channel, I am definitely, if you watch my most recent video, it is going fairly well. I now have more than 1,000 points in that. I am well ahead of my competition, and I am probably just a few days, maybe a week or two, from actually finishing out that game. Yeah, so I'm not going to be using ICBMs in that one, but it's not an overall bad idea, especially if you're in a situation where you can't win otherwise. They can be very helpful in stopping or slowing down your attackers if you can't win otherwise. And because computer wars, just like real wars, are also highly psychological, just being nuked has a psychological effect. So that's one reason I don't feel too bad about South Africa and Iran taking over my country, because I've been kind of mean to them. I've been nuking them a lot, and I know that's pretty frustrating, and they've probably said a lot of bad words in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, so in that other game, the one that I just did an update on, I'm not going to be using I'm not going to be using ICBMs. I'm probably not going to be using any major weapons because I'm just so far ahead of everybody. And I can finish up probably mostly by just taking up the cities of countries that I've already conquered. And then I have a few inactive neighbors around me that I'll probably take up their cities and be done with it. But thank you to anyone who comments and anyone who has some thoughts for me. And often if you leave comments, not only will I respond to you directly, but if it's an interesting comment, if you have an interesting suggestion for a strategy, I may even come on and make a video about it. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. If you would like to make comments, maybe you want to disagree with me about the use of weapons of mass destruction or whatever, feel free to do that. Or maybe you want to agree with me or tell me about your experience. But whatever the case, thank you for being here. Please like, subscribe, send it along to somebody else if you think they'll be interested in this content. And I will be seeing you soon.